The chemistry in this film left me blushing, it left me with a third ovary, it left me with child, it left me a homosexual. Well, I'm already a homosexual, but this film was the nail in the coffin, the fruity coffin. Who hasn't made lesbian eye contact in church? I know I have, and let me tell you, I don't want to tell. I don't want to tell. I do want to marry June Laporte. I know she's out of my league, but I will just admire her from afar. Like a creepy person behind the garbage cans. My natural territory. Hi guys, welcome to a video, and in today's video I'm just going to be reviewing the 2022 film You Can Live Forever. It's so beautiful. This film has changed my life. Watching it was a religious experience. As a heads up, this video will contain spoilers, so if you've not seen this film, you have been warned. Before we get started, I'd just like to thank my Ko-Fi members for supporting my content and drip feeding me with coffee. By my affection, okay. I turn coffee into lesbianism in the same way Jesus turns water into wine. We are practically the same person. Which explains why Christians love this channel so much. If only I'd see the light, I'd stop being, but I live in perpetual darkness, so no. If you're not familiar with You Can Live Forever, it's about Jamie, a teenage girl who is sent to live in a Jehovah's Witness community where she falls for the devout Marika. The two girls embark on an intense affair with consequences that reshape their whole lives. Okay, so let's get into it. First and foremost, above everything else, the casting for this film is just chef's kiss. And the casting for this film is really what makes it so incredible. I would say the chemistry between Marika, who is played by June Laporte, and Jamie, who is played by Onwin O'Driscoll, is probably some of the most intense chemistry between two actors that I've ever seen in a lesbian film. I know that's a bold statement to make, but it really is intense. They just had this almost otherworldly magnetic connection, which made all of their scenes just so electric and engrossing to watch. The cinematic composition of their relationship in the film is just astounding. Poetic cinema, some might say. It's also not just the connection between June and Onwin that's so incredible, it's also their acting as well. So much is said in this film through them without dialogue. It was captivating to watch how emotionally raw and vulnerable the both of them were. And I think all of the actors did a good job, but June Onwin and Leanne Balaban, who plays Jamie's aunt, all stood out to me in particular because of their capacity to bring their emotions to the forefront of their performances in such an unapologetic way. I really think that's where the magic of this film comes from. And it's not just the actors who elevated the relationship between Jamie and Marika. There was a lot of care taken in the art department to portray the depth of their connection through visual choices as well. For example, the choice to have Marika wearing Jamie's shirt in the baptism scene signifies that they're becoming a part of one another. And Marika and Jamie continuing to wear the friendship bracelets they made together, even after they're separated, shows us just how much they're still holding on to a part of each other and everything that those bracelets represent. So the smaller, more subtle details that made up the visual tapestry of Jamie and Marika's relationship, on top of the thoughtful casting, shows you just how much care went into the making of this film. The directors of You Can Live Forever, Sarah Watts and Mark Slutsky, also crafted Jamie and Marika's relationship beautifully through so many smaller moments and intertwined that growing intimacy with the religious aspects in the film in such an intelligent and powerful way. For example, the scene where Jamie and Marika are gently brushing fingertips over the Bible and the baptism in the bathtub were both incredibly impactful scenes which said so much about their connection and their characters, especially the baptism scene because of all the symbolism, giving yourself over to someone else, of entering into this new life, being a part of that person, and the melding of homosexuality and Christianity, which was so powerful considering how often they're positioned as antithetical to one another. Also leaves you wondering, should I be into this? Is this weird that I'm enjoying this? And that's what the ladies say about me. I think for the most part the film did a good job of exploring the intersection between faith and sexuality and portraying the cognitive dissonance that can occur in gay and lesbian individuals who are also religious and entrenched in religious communities. And of course, it's not the first lesbian film to explore that intersection, and yet I felt like its approach was unique because narrative-wise, it doesn't go in the direction you'd expect it to. For example, it's Marika's choice to get engaged. Her family isn't forcing her to do so. And she, and by extension we, are also not subjected to some conversion therapy spectacle type scene, which is so often the case in lesbian films, which explore the intersection between religion and homosexuality. In fact, it's so much the case that I was literally waiting for that scene to come up. And so as strange as it sounds, when it was announced that Marika was engaged instead, I actually felt relieved. So I appreciate that Sarah and Mark consciously steered the film away from a lot of the cliches and tropes that usually appear in lesbian cinema, particularly cinema which deals with religion and homosexuality. And in fact, as a piece of lesbian cinema in general, I should say You Can Live Forever is a fairly unique production. I mean, for sure, it has definitely taken some influence from other lesbian films. I think that's fairly obvious. Especially with the shot of Jamie and Marika at the piano and the quote-unquote turnaround bathroom scene, both of which were quite obviously inspired by Portrait of a Lady on Fire. And then there's also a slight touch of Heavenly Creatures in there with the bathtub imagery. And I'm sure most of you noticed the Heavenly Creatures poster that makes an appearance towards the end of the film. So it's possible it took influence from that as well, but still it very much stands out as its own production. On a technical level, this film is also very clean. It's very crisp. You know, the cinematography is sharp, it's intelligent, it's meaningful, and alongside the editing, it works to enhance and shape the emotional tone of the film. I mean, the whole production is just so visually rich and gritty and raw and authentic and delicious, which was a pleasure to have beamed into my eyes. It was. The soundtrack is also incredible, and the way that they've utilized music to bring out emotion in some of the scenes is just genius. And it was a pleasure to have it beamed into my ears. It was. So on a subjective level, I am just so completely mesmerized by this film. I'm in awe of it. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced by Jennifer Beals. However, objectively speaking, as much as I adore this film, I do have one or two criticisms about the plot pacing and also the balance of what was happening on screen and what was happening off screen in relation to the narrative. I understand this film is about portraying the intricacies of Jamie and Marika's connection, but it also very obviously has a 3-act structure and a plot, and the structure and pacing of the plot seemed like a secondary consideration in the film. So much care went into unfolding the relationship between Jamie and Marika at a thoughtful and measured pace. But whenever they needed to move the plot along, it felt rushed and almost like an afterthought. For example, a huge part of the plot revolves around Marika's family being unhappy with this relationship that's developing between Marika and Jamie. But it's a point of conflict which essentially escalates off screen, and then suddenly there's an engagement announcement. Suddenly Jamie leaves, suddenly some time has passed, suddenly Jamie returns, and then suddenly there's a baby chucked into the mix. So the plot is propelled forward in sudden bursts, which compared to how measured the unfolding of the relationship and all the, aspects of the relationship between Jamie and Marika, it just felt a little bit like whiplash and created a sense of imbalance. Now, from hearing what Sarah and Mark had to say in the film's Q&A, I understand a lot of the conversations and the reactions around Jamie and Marika's relationship being discovered and all the conflict around it were deliberately left out because they wanted to avoid running into the usual tropes that can come from portraying that on screen. And they also wanted to dedicate that screen time to less traumatic things instead. But whilst I understand their motivations, I don't think it had to be an all or nothing situation. And I think leaving almost all of the conflict and conversations taking place between Marika and her family out of the film, especially when it was having such a significant impact on her relationship with Jamie and the overall narrative, left parts of the film and even some aspects of Marika's character feeling slightly oblique and neglected. That said, none of my criticisms really take away from just how mesmerizing this film is or from my personal enjoyment of it, because the weaker aspects are compensated by just how incredible the stronger aspects of this film are. And if the directors wanted to sacrifice plot pacing or certain other aspects of the film in order to dedicate more time to building and portraying this incredible relationship between Jamie and Marika, it was ultimately worth it. All in all, I love this film. I am obsessed with this film. I want to marry this film with consent. And if you haven't seen this film, you absolutely should, because it is something special. You should stream it, you should support it, you should write Sarah and Mark a love letter. This is my love letter. Probably get a restraining order. That's okay. Okay guys, if you've seen You Can Live Forever, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe for instant disappointment, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!